The Buffalo Bills offense is getting scarier week over week. Not only that, Josh Allen, his MVP odds are increasing week over week. And the Buffalo Bills, even their defense is looking like they're getting better. Today, I did a little bit of fact checking, looking at our offense, the play action, the run game, the situational football, specifically on third and fourth down, as well as the evolution of Josh Allen and the early season turnovers and how they're kind of quelched and how they're lowering. But the trends are real, the growth is measurable, and the late season jump in statistics and even gameplay for this offense is there, and it's undeniable. If you've been watching the Buffalo Bills offense throughout the year, we know that half the year we've been mad at Joe Brady, but he's even changing the way he's calling plays. The offense is getting better. We're turning the ball over less. And again, when you dig into the film, when you dig into the stats, it's absolutely undeniable that the Buffalo Bills have turned a corner, and these aren't the same old Buffalo Bills that we had against the Falcons or that we had against the Patriots or even Houston earlier this year. They are becoming dangerous. And you know what? We have a big matchup on Sunday against the Patriots. But you know what? Today, I want to break down four reasons why, or really four pillars of our offense, and explain why this version of the Buffalo Bills offense is absolutely the version that nobody wants to see going into January. So I want to get started with that. Before we get into it, again, my name is Colin. This is Crack the Table, where all Bills, no breaks, breaking down Buffalo Bills content every single day. If you are looking for a new home of Buffalo Bills content, make sure to smash the subscribe button, join our community, drop a Go Bills down in the comments, and let's get right into it. Okay, so the first pillar that I want to break down just briefly today is that of the play action game, or really the adaptations that Joe Brady has made in our offense. You know, for weeks, here's some stats on the screen that I'll be breaking down, but for weeks earlier on in the season, we felt like the offense was just way too predictable. Either we were throwing a screen pass, or even early on in the season, it was a contested ball to Keon Coleman. And then we were dealing with injuries with Palmer and Kincaid. And so things just felt so incredibly predictable. And there wasn't really any scheme adaptations. But now we're seeing Joe Brady, who has acknowledged, even in some senses, that he's got to make some better play calls. He's got to grab some better plays out of the toolkit. But here's a couple of things: there's a meaningful shift in the way that our offense is running, and the way that Joe Brady is calling plays, and the efficiency of those plays is going really, really well. But here's a couple stats again on the screen. Josh Allen is currently at 8.2 yards per attempt, almost 103 passer rating, and 70+% completion. Early on in the season, those numbers dipped. He was just not as efficient. A lot of drops, a lot of overthrows, a lot of issues. But it was because, in some sense, he would have to fit a ball in a very, very tight window. But the change in play calling has actually allowed and enabled there to be more cushion for him to throw higher percentage throws, which leads us to just convert on those second and longs more consistently. But not only that, this stat is going to create blow your mind. It's kind of crazy to me. If I were to even put it on the screen, Bills Mafia, I don't think that you would believe me. But the Buffalo Bills are leading the league in explosive plays on offense. Now, what does that mean? It means that over for every rushing attempt, they're leading the league in 10 yards plus of yards gained, and also with a composite addition of a passing plays that are over 20 yards. If you bring those two things together, the Buffalo Bills are leading the league in those. Now, if you polled a random Bills fan in New York or wherever you're at, and you were like, hey, where are they at in the league in this? You would have been like, man, they're probably like top 10. No, we're literally number one right now. So defenses, even amidst the difficulties, and even amidst, we'll talk about this in a moment, the interceptions of Josh Allen and the inefficiencies and the fumbles, the Buffalo Bills are still leading the league in explosive plays on offense. Now, we haven't had too many of those Tyrell Shavers bombs, or too many of those massive touchdown plays. We've had a couple home run balls, or a couple, great plays from James Cook. But regardless, defenses are just broadly no longer able to sit back and squat on routes and just, have these, cover the run and just sit back and just, you know, cover the receivers or whatever. But you know what? Now things aren't random anymore. Joe Brady has learned that he's got to open up things with the play action game, and that's really leading the Buffalo Bills offense to give them maybe a half second or an extra second on almost every play before Josh Allen is releasing the ball or until he has to release the ball. And defenses are having to play more conservative. Again, once the Bills lean into the play action game a little bit more, linebackers froze. The two high shells that we often saw with safeties, they had to come down, especially in light of the second pillar, which is James Cook rushing efficiency. But again, part of the total resurgence of our offense later on the season, the efficiency was because of the play action game that we've added or that Joe Brady has included more later on in the season. But again, this isn't just a hot streak. This is, I believe, the Buffalo Bills unleashing the best version of themselves. And frankly, the Josh Allen that nobody wants to see in January or even February. But again, if the play action was a spark, the next shift really is the fuel. And that's what I want to talk about right here is the run game and the rushing efficiency. On the screen right now, here's some stats. Buffalo's run game became the real defensive problem because, again, it's pulling safeties down. The play action game alongside with the run game opens up the passing game. And so even though we didn't trade for Jalen Waddle, even though we didn't trade for Rashid Shaheed or one of these other guys, it doesn't matter because of how efficient James Cook, Ray Davis, and even recently some of the Khalil Shakir screenplays and even Josh Allen on the ground with his legs. If we're behind the line of scrimmage, catching the ball or running the ball, or even Ty Johnson has had a really good last month, which has been great to see. But again, 157 yards per game, first in the NFL. 5.1 yards per carry, 22 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards, 6 in rushing EPA. It's not just complimentary football in the run game. Sean McDermott loves the phrase. It's not just complimentary football. This is the kind of offense, the rushing attack that absolutely floors defenses, and we have it. But again, the Bills changed their approach. The play action game continues to open up the run game. The run game continues to open up the play action game. And early down success continues to rise up and get better, improving dramatically from the middle of the season until now. And so those second and long situations or those third and long situations are now second and manageable or third and short, and we are converting more, which we'll talk about that in a second. But again, early on in the season, defenses didn't necessarily fear the run game. Even when you look back at 2024 and what the Buffalo Bills offense did, James Cook was good. He had a lot of touchdowns, but week over week, he was pretty inconsistent. Right now, as a team, we are incredibly consistent. This is absolutely the version of the Buffalo Bills that forces defensive coordinators to pick their poison. Either choice is going to burn them. Do you want Josh Allen and James Cook on the ground to burn you, or do you want the passing game with now a healthy Dalton Kincaid and as soon, hopefully, to be healthy Josh Palmer and these other guys to burn you? And once the run game clicked, it really, with the addition of the play action game, it really has changed the offense. But the third thing that I want to briefly talk about here is this: is that the Buffalo Bills have a top tier situational offense, whether it be tight ends, a running quarterback, an offensive line, or receiving options between the 20s or in the red zone. It doesn't matter. Third down percentages have gone up. 45% of third downs we are converting. 61.7% of red zone trips we are converting in touchdowns. Yeah, a little bit down with points per game by about 1.5 from last year. But regardless, we've scored almost 400 points this year, and early on in the season, we had a lot of drives that stalled. We had a lot of field goals early on in the season. But the Buffalo Bills now rank as one of the top offenses in the NFL on third down the stretch. Again, later in the year, especially as it's getting colder out, I only expect with these snowy games for that efficiency to go higher and to become greater. But again, this is championship level DNA. Early in the season, we repeatedly stalled in those situations, had to take field goals, or we went for it and didn't convert. But right now, with a little less predictable play calling, and even a couple maybe bad play calls here and there, or a drive stalling penalty, which, by the way, again, if I talked about this a week ago, we are basically in the beginning of the season, one of the most penalized teams. And I expect that to come back to regression. With all that being said, the situational play of the Buffalo Bills is only going up. I'm going to talk about this in a couple days, but a guy like Jackson Hawes, he is becoming an absolute essential part of our offense. Even this last week in the touchdown catch that he had, but great offenses pass tests like situational football demands, right in the red zone, or when there's a little bit of time left on the clock. And late in this season, when Buffalo started passing down the stretch with a little bit more efficiency, things really opened up. Again, they're already playing playoff football level offense. We saw it we saw it this last week against the Bengals, who for the last couple weeks, their defense has been playing good, even without Trey Hendrickson. But again, none of this works I believe, without the fourth pillar, which is Superman himself, which I believe, as I said, even earlier on in this video, this is a guy who is still in the running for the MVP. Josh Allen's stylistic shift has just changed everything back for the positive of our offense. Those turnovers, the turnovers, 10 of them this year have been really, really rough with interceptions, but he isn't just playing better, he's playing differently. Here's some key stats for you. Again, look on the screen with me if you want. Allen's passing efficiency again climbed that elite range. I talked about it, 8.2 yards per attempt, but with that, a passer rating north of 100, and still he's getting on the ground and having massive runs more than he has earlier on in the season. We saw it against the Bengals on the big run. But again, he's cut down on the self-inflicted mistakes, turning those pressures into less and less sacks down this last month or so, and even those checkdowns and not falling victim to checkdowns or even screen passes that would just get blown up at the line. He's rushing the ball more. He's more intentional with his legs, and the high impact scrambles are not resulting in sacks. Again, I think of the Houston Texans game where he was trying to make something work with his legs and it just wasn't there. But again, two things to maybe explain this and bring more light to it. Josh Allen, he kind of stopped having to be, fully Superman because other guys are getting open. Jimbo's continually running the ball, but he still has the ability to put on the cape. And even in the past, this last week against the Bengals, where he fits the ball perfectly into the pocket for Khalil Shakir, it's been amazing. It's been really great to see. But a smarter Josh is still dangerous. He's healthy. He's good. Our offensive line is getting back to full strength. And this is the guy, again, nobody wants to play going on into the season. All four of these pillars are absolutely essential to the Bills' playoff hopes and playoff push. You can see the identity. You can see it with clarity that this unit is functioning better than they were earlier on this season. We've got a formula built for January in the run game. Josh Allen is healthy. He's playing really well. The Buffalo Bills didn't just get hot. They're getting scary at just the right time. And for the first time all year, in my opinion, with the play calling included, the Bills look like they're built for January. Man, I'm stoked. I hope you're excited too. But again, my name is Colm. This is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks, breaking down Buffalo Bills content every single day. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow.